Welcome to this month's edition of Art at the Clayton Center. We have two exhibits this month. One is a photography, and then another one is artwork, paintings and so forth, by 15 different artists. And we'll talk about that a little later. But right now, I'm here with Mike Shield, and he is an extraordinary photographer. I have to start out by asking you, do you make your own frames?
In this case, yes. I do.
Well done.
I appreciate that.
They're very well done.
They're all still hanging. That's a good sign.
I make all the frames for my wife's work.
Oh, excellent.
And there's a talent to it.
Yeah, or...
Took me a while to...
Yeah, I was going to say. I wanted the frames to look a little distressed, like as maybe they've traveled as well. And so I figured if I just made them and tried to do a really good job, they would end up looking distressed. So no, it kind of worked out.
It's most impressive because all of your work is in those frames. How many pieces do you have at this show?
I have 16 pieces.
16?
Yeah.
Well, they're wonderful. And
thank you.
We'll talk about some of them. You're fairly new to Clayton.
Yeah, yeah.
Where did you grow up?
So I grew up in upstate New York, a little town called Norwich. Very, very small. Actually, comparable to Clayton. We had a main street and the whole 9 yards. But then I was raised, for the most part, I went to high school and college in Ohio, southern Ohio, Cincinnati area.
Now, while you were in college, did you study this?
I took a photography class my senior year. I was actually a computer science major in undergrad. I see. And I dropped the photography class senior year for a senior computer project. So I think my wife took more photography than I did in undergrad.
What brought you to Clayton?
So we moved down to Clayton about 1.5 years ago. My wife had an excellent job opportunity down in Wilson. And since Clayton is kind of halfway between Raleigh and Wilson, it seemed like the natural place to be. And we're really enjoying it so far. Now,
you do this full time. This is not a hobby on the side.
No, no. I'm a freelance photographer. I work mostly in editorial, magazines, advertising, corporate work, that kind of stuff. But this is kind of my passion, my personal work.
You're a young guy. Did you start out in the days of chemicals and all that stuff?
Well, you know, I'm probably not as young as I look. Okay. It must be the haircut. I learned everything traditionally. I had a couple great photo professors when I lived in Texas. But I've never shot a job on film. When I basically became a professional, digital had already kind of come in, and I sold my film camera, I think, before I even shot a professional job with it.
I was talking to someone in the audience a little while ago about photography, and he says, every once in a while, he says, I just have to open a couple of those bottles and take a sniff. You know, I miss it.
You don't forget that smell. That's right. That's right. My grandfather was a photographer himself, an amateur photographer, really good. And I was just recently there at his house. We were cleaning out some stuff, and it was the same thing. It was like all these developer and fixer and all this stuff. It takes you back.
So you don't miss it?
No, not really.
So how many cameras do you have, or what's your camera of choice?
Well, I shoot with a Canon. I have a 5D Mark II, and that's the one I usually use day in and day out. But I have a host of 2 or 3 other ones that I kind of rotate in and out.
Okay. Let's talk about your work. Most of what you have here is kind of landscape.
Yeah, travel, landscape, sure.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Now, the painting right behind us here, I find very interesting. And I assume you Photoshopped this cat.
Yeah, right.
That cat wasn't really there.
Right. Well, yeah, a lot of people think that, and that's fair. I'm pretty good at Photoshop. I'm not going to lie to you. But
I know you didn't
right.
do that.
It's an interesting thing, though. That was actually taken in Florence. My wife and I were there, and we came back to the hotel room one evening after being out, you know, kind of shooting and just having a good time in Florence. And I look out the window of a very small window, and that cat is just sitting there on the roof. And I thought, can I make it from here to the camera bag and back before he moves? And I thought, well, you got to try, right? You'll never ever be in that same spot to take that same photo ever again. So, you know, it never works out if you don't. And he just kind of stared me down like he's doing right there. And
Well, it's a great
I got
picture.
it.
It's
I got
a
it.
great picture, yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Now, where was the letter box?
So this is a door in,
door.
yeah, this is actually a door in Venice. It's a residence that the door itself, I mean, to me, looks like it's from 1700s. You know, you can kind of see every.
Oh, absolutely.
That's why I
Sit
cropped
around.
it. So yeah, you can see every little mark and every kind of knock on the door underneath the handle.
There might have been a window at one time.
You know, I'm not really sure what that was, but yeah, or a plaque, or like
Yeah, maybe that.
not really sure. It's just
Sign.
so much stuff in Venice has been, since it's been there so long, they just kind of have soul, you know. The door has its own kind of, you know, gravity.
Now, our photographer tonight will go around and take a picture of most of your work, or a lot of
that'd
your
be
work
great.
and everything. Are there any other pieces that you would like to talk about with a nice story behind it?
Wow, there's so many. You'll see there's a door. I did one, it's hard to tell, but, and I like to try to do this in some of the photos. There's a door with a horseshoes in the shape of a shamrock. I did in Ireland. And if you look really carefully at the photo, you can actually see rain coming off the corrugated roof. That was at, I think they call it the Beehive Forts in Ireland. It's on the western coast near Dingle. I remember making the picture because my wife wouldn't get out of the car because it was raining so hard. I had like a bag over the camera and everything, and so every time, very few people noticed it the first time around anyway, so, but it was worth it, I think.
Well, it's an interesting piece without a doubt. I think all of your work is interesting, and I hope people will get an opportunity to come down and see it.
I hope
Because I
so.
think that they will enjoy it. Now, are you available for the traditional things like weddings and stuff like that?
You know,
Do any of that
that's a
work?
really good question. I actually have never done a wedding.
Is that right?
I don't do weddings.
Well, here, let me congratulate you on
Thank
that. You avoided Bridezilla.
What I was going to say, yeah, that takes a special type of person to do those, and I have a few friends that do them, and I don't know if I've been scared off or I just respect their skill enough to say, maybe not that's, you know, but I do traditional stuff. I will do portraits and periodically, because most of my editorial work is location-based portraits, so.
Have you done any other shows in Clayton or in the area since you've been down here?
You know, no, I haven't. This is the first one. Clayton Visual Arts was kind enough to give me such a large space. I think this is actually the largest exhibit I've ever done in terms of number of pieces of the work. I've been odds and ends shows, but it's fantastic.
That opportunity.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful show, and like I said, I hope people will get down here and see it.
That'd be great. Thanks to Clayton
Nice
Visual
talking to you,
Arts.
Mike.
Thank you.
The second part of our show tonight is paintings. CVA has about 35, 40 members, and most of them are artists, and most of them are painters. About once a year, we like to feature them. So tonight, we have 15 different artists, all of them members of CVA, and they've brought their work out for us to take a look at. I'm standing here with Francine Stevenson, and Francine and her husband both belong to CVA. We'll see her husband shortly. Francine, this is an interesting piece of work. It looks like a watercolor.
It is.
And the name has something to do with the North Woods.
It is.
How far north were you?
We were in Ontario,
Oh,
Canada,
really?
and this was my daughter. She was about 9 at the time, and we had a vacation, 30 days on the road, if you can imagine, with 2 young children.
Okay.
But this was one of the most memorable of all the places we went because we relaxed. The girls waded in the stream, walked by the stream. They always say, paint what you love, and that was painted with love.
Well, I'm sure it was. It's beautiful. Have you always been a painter?
Yes, I guess my grandmother taught me art, and I messed with painting when I was young. But my first grade teacher, and Don, my husband, will say the same thing because we were in the same first grade class together, was an artist, and she convinced every student in there, all 32 of us, that all people were artists, and so we never doubted it, and that's what gave us the energy and the desire
That's
to
an inspiring
continue.
teacher. That's really something special.
She was grabbed up by the state of Hawaii and didn't last but another year after that.
Well, we really appreciate you coming out and doing that. Your art is beautiful, as
Thank
is
you.
your husband's.
Thank you.
Did you grow up in the South?
In this area, I was
Oh, you
born in
did?
4 Oaks.
Okay. Okay. You said you went to school together, and I think I knew that your husband was from here, but
We have been best friends since we were 6 years old.
you don't sound too Southern, no.
Well, I've worked on my accent. When I got to UNCG, I was very embarrassed, and I worked very hard, and now people tell me I sound as if I'm from the Midwest.
Thank you again.
But I'm
Appreciate
proud
it
of my
very
Southern
much.
heritage.
Thank you. This is Don Stevenson, and Don is on the board of directors of CVA. He's also on the board of directors at Johnson County Arts Council. He's very active in the art scene. Prior to that, you were?
I was a biology instructor at Johnston Community College for about 27 years.
So the job just didn't work out. You had to be.
No, I retired.
Well, that's wonderful. We have a contest every year, every other year. It's called the poster contest. We ask people to paint scenes around Clayton. And we give a nice prize for the winner of that contest. And last year, Don won the prize. He did a beautiful picture where he incorporated like 4 different scenes from Sam's Branch, the new walkway. And we made copies of those and made posters out of them, and those are available if you want to see Don's work. If not, it's hanging here in the Clayton Center, up in the business office. It's very nice work, and I congratulate you again for
Thank
winning
you.
that. Now let's talk about you. Your wife said you grew up in this area. Where did you go to college?
I'm an NC State graduate. I got my master's degree and bachelor's there. So,
In biology.
in biology, yeah.
Now, were you doing any painting in those days? Is that something that came later in life?
Well, Francine talked about painting as a child, and our first grade teacher and my brother were probably my inspiration. I've been fiddling around with it for all my life. And when I got to thinking about retiring, I decided that this is what I wanted to do in my spare time. And I took a few classes and really started painting in earnest at that time.
Well, you've certainly come a long way. You do some nice work. This piece right here, I'm always fascinated with artists, how they paint waves and so forth. I think I tried it one time, and I kept taking my brush off the page to try to get that thing to come over, and it didn't work that way. It just didn't work that way. So that's why I'm not a painter. But tell us about that, who that is. Do you know who that is?
This is just something that I made up in my mind. As I recall, I didn't even make a sketch in my sketchbook. I just sat down and put a few pencil marks on the canvas and started painting. Started out, I painted the surf, and what I've been trying to do recently is to learn all of those things about how waves form, how they break, and how you can capture that using acrylic and watercolor paint. And so this was the first one that I had really tried in earnest. And after I got the wave painted and the beach and so forth, I decided it needed a fisherman in there. So I went back and sketched off a fisherman and painted him, and that kind of finished the painting up.
Well, it's neat. It's well done. These aren't fish going up there, is it?
No, that's just shadows in the surf.
Okay. That looks like rough surf fishing right there.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
But anyway, it's well done, and we appreciate you bringing the work out tonight.
Thank you.
Anything else you'd like to tell us? Oh, I forgot one thing about Don. Don is the chairman of the group that hangs this show every month. Every first Thursday of the month, except this month it was because of the July 4th. But first Thursday of the month we have a reception here at the Clayton Center, and there's a new show every month. And Don, with a few other volunteers, hang the show every month, and that is it's a big job, and I really appreciate it.
I'd like to say just one thing. I really appreciate all the CVA artists responding and bringing their work in on very short notice to complete the show this month. My hat's off to them. I really appreciate that cooperation.
The next artist we have tonight is Frank Zepak. Frank is treasurer of CVA. He's been on the board and does a wonderful job for us there. This piece of work, I know Frank as a photographer, but when I came in and saw this, I said, Frank paints too? No, it's photograph. Frank, how do you make a photograph like that?
Well, it's actually a combination of photographs. It's pretty much, I think that's 3 photographs. There's the initial photograph of the subject, and then you do, in Photoshop, you do layers. You add a background layer and a texture layer, and then you remove parts of it that you don't want to be affected by the different layers, and it's just, you kind of play with it. It's like doing art, drawing on the computer.
Well, it's amazing, and to look at it up close, I mean, it looks like a painting. And I think the way you mounted this is very, very
well. That was
also.
I was trying to find a different way to mount my photographs other than matting and framing, which is traditionally what's done. Plus, it's a little cheaper.
Oh, okay.
Being a treasurer, as you said, I'm always kind of about cutting costs. But yeah, I saw that somewhere done at another exhibit, and I thought I'd try it. And it seems to have worked on that.
Frank, have you always done photography? Has that been a passion of yours for a long time? Or?
Yeah, I mean, back in high school, and I used to play with the darkroom and things like that. But then life sort of gets in the way, and you move on to other, I guess, more lucrative endeavors and earning a living, and so you sort of come back to it later in life. But
I was talking to one of the older guys here tonight, and he said he misses the dark room and all that.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, he just unscrews a bottle to take a sniff, just to remind him how wonderful it was.
Yeah,
You don't do that.
No, I don't do that.
Okay, good. Where'd you grow up?
New Hampshire. I grew up in New Hampshire and left after graduating high school to go into service, and wound up, never made it back north of the Mason-Dixon line, so I became a Southerner.
Yes, that's a familiar story around here, isn't it?
Yep, sure is.
I remember living in Southern California in the 60s, and the first thing you said to people was, where are you from? Because nobody was from there.
Nobody's from there.
And Clayton is almost getting to that point now. Where are you from? Because the real Claytonites aren't
Yeah, they're not here.
numerous as they used to
Yeah.
be.
Yep.
Anyway, thank you very much for
Okay.
displaying your work. We've seen other pieces of his work, and it's all pretty spectacular. Beautiful work, Frank.
Thank you. Thank you. Enjoyed it.
I'm standing here with John Farr. John is also on our board of directors here at CVA. All of the people in CVA are not on the board. It just seems like that tonight. And I think it's because they're the most dedicated ones, because before this show started, we had a downpour. And I mean, it was a torrential rain, and it kind of held our crowd down tonight. But John, thank you for getting here anyway.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure and an honor.
John is fairly new to Clayton also. He's a retired airlines pilot.
That's
Tell
correct.
us about that.
Yeah, well, that's correct.
How long did you fly?
I flew for about, let's see, 30 years with the airlines and another 10 years with the Navy before that. I was a Navy pilot before I was an airline pilot like that.
So you flew off of aircraft carriers and
Yes,
that sort of thing?
yeah, I did for a little bit like that.
Well, thank you for your service, and what a career. I know that at the end of your career you were flying international. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, I got to fly a lot to Europe, many of the cities in Europe. I enjoyed that very much.
I bet you did. I bet you did.
Yeah, yeah.
We have seen some of John's work. He hasn't. I don't think you've been painting all your life, have you?
No, I just started maybe about 10 years ago. I started painting, yeah. When I retired from flying.
Yes. But I can tell you that the work that we've seen is literally all over the world. This kind of looks like this one might be in the United States. Where was this?
Yes, it is. That's in just outside of Hollister, California. There really is a Hollister, California.
Yes.
You see the kids
Yep.
with the T-shirts.
Central, near
Yeah.
Bakersfield, I think.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's a little south of San Jose area like that.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
that's not.
Yeah,
That's not
this is an abandoned farm, and most of it is actually, I use photographs and sketches, and then I'll sketch it out on the canvas before I start to slop the paint on it after that. But where this was, though, those mountains were in a different part. Yeah. So sometimes if I don't like the background, I might move something around.
So you Photoshop with a brush.
Yeah. So actually, everything is the same area except for the mountains. The mountains were actually over in here somewhere.
Oh, okay.
And I moved them over here because I didn't like what was behind this. Something like that. Something like that.
An artist has that kind of
That's
license.
right.
You can do that.
That's right.
You
So,
can do that.
anyway, but that's
Some of you seniors out there might know this gentleman. He goes to the senior games every year, and he cleans up. What do you do with all those medals?
I think I'm going to melt them down or something, make an anchor for a boat.
Do you think
or
there's
something.
anything good in there?
Yeah, but there's a rest of the story. Like some of the races that I win a gold medal in,
You're the only contestant.
I'm the only one in the race. So.
But you don't just run. You do a lot of other stuff, too. I saw a picture in the paper just last time they did the senior games. You were doing a long jump or a triple jump, or what was it?
Yeah, it was a long jump. Yeah.
Well, tell us all the events that you entered or have entered.
I forget some of them. I do the 100, the 200. Those are dashes. I do the 5K, which is a long run. I do the long jump, the discus, the shot put. And what else do I? That's about it, I guess. I do triathlons to stay in shape. So.
John and I live in the same community out in Glen Laurel, and I see him running every day, but he hasn't shamed me into it yet.
I keep working on it, Larry. Keep working on it.
John, thank you for bringing your work out.
Okay.
We always enjoy seeing it.
It was a pleasure. Thank you, Larry.
I'm now standing here with Medrith Nuttall. Medrith is a member of CVA, but you're not on the board of directors.
No, I'm not.
We finally found one. Anyway, Medrith, well, tell us how long you've been painting.
Oh, gee, maybe 50 years.
Yeah.
Just forever. That's what I do.
And your primary medium?
Acrylic. I paint in acrylic on canvas. It looks like oil because I paint pretty much like an oil painter does. But I like the acrylic, which is water cleanup and fast drying.
Okay. This is called white irises.
Yes.
Are they from your home, or was that somewhere you were
This-
visiting? Or?
This is First United Methodist Church in Cary. I was participating in a paint out there, a plein air painting event, a competition, and I saw and loved these white irises, so I set up and painted them.
It's wonderful. You do a lot
Thank
of
you.
plein air work, don't you?
I do.
You were telling me earlier about a waterfalls that you that you enjoyed.
Yes, when we lived in Indiana, we went and painted. There's one or two waterfalls in Indiana. I went and painted it in the fall on a beautiful day. Went back after a beautiful snowfall when it was all frozen. Did not paint it then. Took photographs and went home and painted it at the house. Because I'm not stupid.
And then the third time you went back,
I did. I was going to paint it in the spring when it was full of water. Well, it was so full of water, the waterfall was just gone. It was just a flat lake. No waterfall. Did not paint it. Sad but true.
well, tell us, you've been in several shows. Tell us some of the shows and where we might see you again.
Right now, I have 21 paintings at the Smithfield-Selma Chamber of Commerce over by the Outlet Mall in Smithfield. I have 9 paintings at the Skylines Cafe east of Clayton. And I have this one here, and I'm going to have a painting or two in Southern Pines starting August 1st.
We're very proud of her.
Thank you.
I wasn't kidding when I said she's been painting for quite a while.
I have.
And you do.
Used
do
to
great
paint
work.
dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs.
I used to. before they all died.
That was a gotcha. That was a gotcha.
If you give me the straight line, I will take it.
Well, listen, Edris, pleasure. Thank you for doing this.
And thank you for having
I
me.
enjoy working with you on CVA.
I enjoy being in CVA.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Standing here in front of one of our other artists in CVA, and she's a wonderful artist, Kathy Nobles. And Kathy has quite a few shows. She has worked downtown in the arts, downtown Raleigh, in the arts and everything. And I went to set up here so that you could see it. And I hope you'll get a chance to get down here. We have just this beautiful photography and then this wonderful variety of paintings. So please try to get down. I'd like to tell you something that I wanted to introduce you to the new board of directors, but our president took off yesterday to go to Haiti to do some mission work down there. So next month, we will introduce you to the new board of directors. I am pleased to say that I'm no longer the president. I've served my 2 years, and I'm still on the board of directors for one more year, but I'm no longer the president, but it was an opportunity that I thoroughly enjoyed. It was my second 2-year term, so I've been president 4 years out of the last 7. But now in my advancing age, I'm going to have to retire. And I'm going to continue to do this, maybe. Anyway, for all of you who've put up with me and listened to me for the last few years, I thank you for that. Next month, we have 2 artists again, or 2 different shows. We have a Jackie Blaylock, and she's a pencil and watercolor artist. And then we'll also have photography. A lot of you might know Deborah Coates from here in Clayton. So that should be a very nice show. And the reception will be held on Thursday night, August 7th. So write that down, see if you can't come down and join us.